Let me tell you something real. A man might act tough, strong, got his swagger right. But when you hug him, you tap into a part of him that he doesn't show to the world. That hug, if it's real, if it's warm, if it's full of love, it tells him things words can't even reach. When you hug a man, you may think it's just a simple gesture of affection. But to him, if he's into you, if he truly values you, that hug is a whole experience. It reaches him in a way that very few things can. See, men don't often get the same emotional outlets that women do. We're taught to be tough, to be providers, to stay strong even when we're breaking inside. So when you, a woman he cares about, wrap your arms around him, you're doing more than just hugging him. You're letting him know he's safe. You're giving him a moment of peace in a world that always expects him to carry the weight. Most men won't say it out loud, but they crave softness. Not weakness, but real, genuine softness. That gentle touch that says, you're not alone. You're allowed to relax here. You don't have to have all the answers right now. That hug tells him he can take the armor off for a second. He can stop performing. He can just be. Now, when a man really cares about you, he doesn't take that hug lightly. He feels every second of it. He notices the way your hands rest on his back, the way your head fits on his shoulder, the warmth of your body against his. He soaks it in because, truthfully, he doesn't get that from anywhere else. Not from work, not from his friends, not even from family sometimes. That kind of love, that kind of presence, it's rare, it's powerful. And when it comes from you, it matters more than you realize. And pay attention to how he hugs you back. If he pulls you in tighter, if he closes his eyes, if he lets out a breath like he's finally able to breathe, that's not just him being affectionate. That's a man being vulnerable. That's a man letting you in past the surface, past the strong exterior, right into the part of him he doesn't show anyone else. That hug becomes his reset button, his moment of stillness. And when a woman can give a man that kind of peace, it stays with him. It leaves a mark. He may go back to being the protector, the decision maker, the doer. But in that moment when you hold him, he's reminded that even protectors need protecting. Even warriors need rest. Even kings need comfort. And when he finds that comfort in you, when he feels that emotional safety, he starts to look at you differently. You're no longer just the woman he's dating or even the woman he loves. You become the one place he feels whole. And that's powerful. Sometimes a man might come home from a long day and he won't say what he's dealing with. He won't talk about the stress, the pressure, the battles he's facing inside his mind. But then you hug him and it's like everything he's holding on to suddenly becomes a little lighter. That hug, it tells him you're home now. You can rest. And trust me, he might not express it with words, but deep down, he's thanking you. He's appreciating that moment more than you know. And you want to know when that hug really hits him? When he's doubting himself, when he feels like he's not enough, when he thinks he's failing. You hug him during those times, and you're giving him something that money can't buy, something status can't provide, something no one else can give him. You're giving him belief. You're saying, I still see the good in you. I still believe in who you are. And that for a man, that's everything. Even in the happiest relationships, life will test you both. There will be rough patches, arguments, disappointments. But that hug reminds him that no matter what, you're still there, you still care. It tells him, I may be upset, but I still love you. It tells him we're going to be all right. Because when love is real, it's not just about passion and romance. It's about showing up even in silence, even through simple things like a hug. Don't underestimate what your energy does to a man. Your presence can calm storms he's never told you about. Your touch can remind him of his purpose. Your hug can shift his entire day. And when a man gets used to that kind of peace, to that kind of love, he won't ever want to lose it. That hug becomes something he starts looking forward to. It becomes part of his strength. Because even strong men need to lean on someone. Even the hardest ones have soft spots. And you, through that one embrace, become the woman who reaches his heart when no one else can. So if you're ever wondering if your love is making a difference, stop questioning it. When you hug that man and he holds you like he never wants to let go, you've already answered that question. You're not just a partner. You're his peace, his safe haven, his emotional refuge. And in a world that keeps pulling at him, draining him, and testing him, your hug is the one place he knows he can find strength again. When you hug a man, it's easy to think it's just a routine gesture, something people do without thinking twice. But when you hug him, and especially if he truly cares for you, it becomes something much deeper. That simple embrace, it carries meaning. It speaks volumes without saying a word. For a man, a hug from the woman he loves isn't just physical contact. It's emotional connection. It's spiritual reassurance. It's safety in a world that demands him to be unshakable every single day. Most men grow up learning to be providers, protectors, and problem solvers. They don't always grow up learning how to express vulnerability or deal with emotional overload. They're told to man up, to tough it out, to not cry, not complain, and certainly not break down. But deep inside, just like anybody else, men feel the weight of life. They feel pressure, rejection, fear, and fatigue. And often, they don't show it. They bottle it up. They carry it in silence. So when you walk up to him, look into his eyes and wrap your arms around him, not out of habit, but out of genuine care, he feels something shift. You might not know it, but in that moment, you're giving him a break. You're giving him space to breathe, to let his guard down. He might not say it, but when you hug him, he's thankful. He's grateful that someone sees him beyond his strength, that someone cares enough to offer him peace instead of pressure. That hug, depending on what he's been dealing with that day, might be the only moment where he doesn't feel like the whole world is sitting on his shoulders. And if you pay attention to the way he responds, you'll see how deeply he's affected. If he closes his eyes when you hug him, that's him trying to pause time. If he pulls you in a little tighter, that's him holding on to that calm. If he sighs or rests his head on your shoulder, that's not just a sweet gesture. That's a man letting himself be human in your arms. It's a rare space where he doesn't need to impress, lead, or solve. He just gets to be. There are women who spend so much time trying to impress men with beauty, words, or grand gestures, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what often makes the deepest impression on a man is how you make him feel when he's at his lowest, when he's tired, when he's frustrated, when life has him feeling small. And one of the quietest yet most powerful ways to support a man in those times is through a hug filled with real love. Not a pat on the back, not a quick I love you as you pass by, but a hug that says, I see you, I'm here, you don't have to face this alone. Sometimes you'll notice that after hugging you, he stands taller, he walks away calmer, he's smiling when a moment ago he wasn't. That's the impact you just had on him, and maybe you didn't even say a word. That's how powerful your presence is to him. That's how healing your love can be. You don't need to fix all his problems. Sometimes all he really needs is to feel like he's not alone in this fight. And that hug, that's proof. Now, understand this. If a man doesn't care about you, your hug won't reach his heart. But when he does care, when he's emotionally invested, your touch is everything. It soothes him. It gives him clarity. It tells him what your mouth doesn't even need to say. And it reminds him that no matter how cold the world gets, he's got warmth waiting in your arms. And there's something else. It's not just about how he feels in the moment. A genuine hug from you leaves a memory in his heart. There'll be times when he's not with you, when he's facing something tough, and in his mind, he'll remember how it felt to be held by you. That sense of peace, that breath of comfort, it becomes part of the reason he keeps choosing you, keeps loving you, keeps fighting to be a better man, because you gave him a moment where he could just exist, not perform, not protect, just exist and be loved for exactly who he is. A lot of men won't talk about their emotions. They'll shrug things off, change the subject, or stay silent altogether. But if you really want to know how he feels, watch how he responds to your hug. Watch how his body relaxes. Watch how long he holds on. He's saying everything with that silence. And you, just by offering that hug, you're becoming a part of his emotional safety net. That's not something every woman gives. That's not something every man finds. But when he finds it in you, he holds on to it because it's rare, because it's real. So never think that hug is just a hug. Never think your presence doesn't matter. To the right man at the right time, your arms are more powerful than any words. They don't just hold him up. They rebuild him. They ground him. They give him something he can't get from the world: peace, trust, love, and the courage to keep going. And that is something no man ever forgets. When a woman hugs a man, it might seem like a casual act, something small, something routine. But to a man who's emotionally connected to you, that hug carries weight. It hits differently because for most men, affection isn't something they seek from the world. They seek respect, strength, and responsibility. But deep down, no matter how hard they act or how focused they seem, they still want to feel wanted. They still want to feel loved. And when you wrap your arms around him, something inside him softens in a way that words just can't touch. You have to understand that most men aren't taught to show weakness. From a young age, they're told not to cry, not to show emotion, not to open up too much. They grow up thinking that vulnerability is something to be ashamed of. So they build walls. They keep things to themselves. They carry their burdens silently. And when life gets heavy, they usually carry it alone. That's why your hug means so much, because it cuts through that silence. It tells him he's allowed to feel, even if just for a few seconds. When you hug him and you mean it, when there's no rush, no distractions, just love, he feels something he doesn't even know how to explain. You're not just touching his body, you're touching his heart, his mind, his soul. He may not be used to it, but when it's real, he feels it instantly. It's like you're giving him permission to drop his guard, to stop pretending he's okay when he's not. And even if he never says a word, he appreciates it deeply. Sometimes that hug is the first time all day he feels calm. It's the first time he feels seen. You'd be surprised how many men go through entire days without feeling emotionally acknowledged. They can be surrounded by people at work, in public, with friends, and still feel alone. But then you come along, you pull him close, and you give him warmth. That hug becomes a reminder that someone cares, that someone is paying attention, that someone is present for more than just what he can offer. And you can tell how much it means to him by the way he reacts. If he wraps both arms around you tightly and doesn't let go quickly, that's a man who's holding on to more than just your body. He's holding on to the feeling. He's absorbing the comfort, the affection, the love. And when he rests his head on you or breathes deeply while you're holding him, that's his soul exhaling. That's him finding a quiet place in the middle of the storm. It's not about the hug itself. It's about the meaning behind it. It's about what your presence says without saying anything. You're telling him, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to act strong right now. You're safe with me. And that is a powerful message, especially to a man who spent his whole life thinking he had to be the strong one every minute of every day. There are moments in a man's life when the pressure is almost unbearable. Finances, family, expectations, self-worth, it all weighs heavy. And he might never say a word about what he's carrying. But when you hug him, you're telling him, you don't have to carry it alone. You're sharing his load, even if only emotionally. And that gesture becomes bigger than anything else. It becomes something he remembers, something he cherishes. Now, that hug may not fix everything, but it gives him the energy to keep going. It gives him the reassurance that he's not walking through life by himself. And that right there, that's a kind of love that sticks with him. Not the loud, flashy kind of love, the quiet, steady kind. The kind that wraps itself around his heart and gives him something solid to come back to. And here's something most women don't realize. When you consistently offer him that kind of connection, you become unforgettable. Not because you did anything grand or dramatic, but because you gave him something that touched the deepest parts of him. You became his peace, his rest, his soft landing. And once a man experiences that kind of presence, he stops looking for temporary attention elsewhere. He starts valuing the depth you bring. He sees you as his balance, his emotional home. This doesn't mean you need to be perfect or never have needs of your own, but it means that when you love from a place of sincerity, when your actions are rooted in care rather than strategy, he feels it. He knows the difference between someone who's just going through the motions and someone who genuinely wants to pour love into him. And that difference can shift how he sees everything, himself, you, the relationship. There are hugs he'll forget from strangers, but the one that comes from the woman he loves, the one that happens on a hard day, the one where he melts a little in your arms, he'll remember that. Years later, in quiet moments, that memory will stay with him. Because in that simple act, you showed up for him. Not with advice, not with solutions, just with presence. And sometimes that's all a man really needs. Just to know that someone sees his humanity, not just his ability to provide or protect. That hug becomes a bridge between the man he shows the world and the man he is deep inside. You help him connect those two parts. You help him feel whole again. And in return, you become the one person he feels safest with, the one he can be himself around, the one he trusts not just with his time, but with his soul. When you hug a man and you do it with your whole heart, it does something to him that he can't always describe. It goes beyond the surface. It doesn't just feel good. It feels grounding. It's a moment where everything else pauses, and all he feels is warmth, peace, and a deep sense of being understood without having to explain anything. For a man, that kind of connection is rare. He can go through his whole day playing his role, strong, focused, composed. But that one hug from you has the power to disarm all of that and reach a part of him he keeps locked away from the world. Men don't always talk about how they feel. A lot of times they don't even know how to express it. Society hasn't given them much space to be soft, to admit they're tired, scared, confused, or even lonely. So they learn to hold it all in. But just because a man doesn't say much doesn't mean he doesn't feel deeply. And when he loves you, when he truly trusts you, your touch becomes more than just physical contact. It becomes a message. It becomes a signal to his heart that says, you're not alone. You're safe. You matter here. That kind of hug, real, intentional, and full of love, can make a man feel like he's finally home, not just in a place, but in a person. And that's everything to him, because home isn't always where you live, it's who you can be yourself with. And when he's in your arms, you're not performing anymore. It's not solving problems or chasing goals. He's just a man who finally gets to breathe. You might think he's quiet during the hug because he's not feeling anything, but the truth is he's feeling everything. He's taking in your energy, your care, your warmth. He might rest his head on your shoulder or pull you in a little closer without saying a word. That's not him being passive. That's him responding in the only way he knows how, by holding on to that moment, because it gives him something he doesn't get anywhere else. And when you offer it freely, without needing anything back in that second, it touches him in a way few things ever could. Some days he might be carrying so much on his shoulders that he forgets what softness feels like. He may not even know how exhausted he is until your arms are around him. And then suddenly his body relaxes, his mind slows down. That pressure that's been sitting on his chest all day starts to lift, even if only a little. That's the power of your hug. It's not just physical, it's emotional therapy. It's relief, it's reassurance that he doesn't have to be everything all the time. There's a vulnerability in being held, especially for men who are used to standing tall. And if he lets himself melt into your embrace, that's not weakness, it's trust. It means he believes in you enough to let go of the mask for a moment. It means he feels emotionally safe in your presence. And let me tell you something. Emotional safety is one of the most valuable things a man can feel in a relationship. It's not something he finds everywhere. It's not something he gives just anyone. But when he feels it with you, it changes everything. You become more than his partner. You become his safe space. The one he can come to when he doesn't want to talk, when he doesn't want to fix, when he just wants to feel seen and held. And the crazy part is, you don't even have to say anything for him to feel all of that. It's in your energy. It's in your arms. It's in the way you just know when to hold him a little longer, a little tighter, like you can sense he needs it. There's also something sacred in the way he hugs you back. If you pay attention, you'll see it. It's in the way he holds you like he's trying to protect you, even in that quiet moment. It's in the way his hands rest on your back, or the way he leans into you like he doesn't want to let go. That's him silently saying, thank you for being here for me. And he might not always be good with words, but his body will always tell you what his heart is feeling. These moments of affection, they build something solid between you two. They're not just emotional, they're foundational. Because it's in those simple, quiet, deeply human moments that love grows roots. That's where trust deepens. That's where a man starts to think not just about the relationship as it is, but how he doesn't want to live without it. Because once a man experiences that kind of comfort in a woman's arms, he knows he's found something that can't be replaced. Even when things aren't perfect, even when there are misunderstandings or stress or distance, that memory of your embrace stays with him. It becomes something he carries in the back of his mind, that reminder that no matter how rough the world gets, he's got someone who softens it. And the truth is, he doesn't just love that about you, he needs it. He needs that moment where he can stop being strong, stop being tough, and just be held. So never doubt the impact of your hug. Never think it's too small to matter, because to him, when you hold him like that, it says everything he didn't even know he needed to hear. It tells him that he's not alone in this world. It tells him that someone sees him, not just the surface, but the soul beneath. And when a man feels seen, accepted, and safe in your arms, he will remember that feeling forever. Because in that moment, you didn't just hold him, you healed him.